it really helps you develop your ability to be in front of people.
But walk us through, before we kind of go on the professional track, um, I know you ended up going to Woodward, but was high school or middle school in the local area and then you transferred over to Woodward, or when did you come in there?
Elementary school was in the local area, and I wound up starting Woodward in the 7th grade.
Oh, in 7th grade.
Yeah.
So from a consistency basis, do you feel that was a big contrast from growing up in the farm,
Huge.
going to Woodward? Because,
Huge, yes.
Woodward, I'm sure some people know about Woodward. It is one of the top private schools in the entire country and probably one of the best here. And it's a dramatic difference of culture, in my perspective,
Yes.
of coming from a farm area in a smaller town. So give me kind of that transition, because I would assume it's slightly stark contrast to growing up.
Yeah, it was a very stark contrast. And so my parents actually divorced when I was young. So this was part of this whole journey. And my brothers wound up staying with my father, and I moved with my mom. So I was back on the farm every weekend and all summer long. And we were in a part of town that, and my mom worked for Eastern Airlines. This is an airline that probably none of you have heard of, but it, it was a big airline in existence for a long time until it went bankrupt. It failed. So we lived near the airport and not in a good school system. And her mother, my other grandmother, said, I'm going to send Mary to Woodward. Another gift in my life. I had no idea what Woodward was. I had to go take a test and talk to some people. And I was like, wow, this big campus. And I wound up there. I got in, and it was a tremendous gift for me to be there, because I was surrounded by people from, at that point, it was a boarding school. They were from all over the world. Um, Very different culture, a lot of rigor, back to the rigor, which I already had that discipline from growing up on the farm. And the restaurant business is not different either. And I always say I will hire anyone who grew up on a farm or worked in the restaurant industry, because it's all that same kind of discipline that it takes. But it was a very different environment, and challenging. Really challenging for me to, and I never did find one group. I had friends in a lot of different groups, and my life is still like that now. I relate to people and from a lot of different places, and so that part was good. I played sports and did those things. Wound up getting into theater in the 10th grade. I was in chorus all along. I started in the choir, in the small town church when I was in kindergarten. So sang my entire life, wound up in theater. And that was one of the best things I could have ever done too, to just really kind of break. I am shy by nature. I'm introverted, and I don't like to be in front of people generally. And so then fast forward, when I became an entrepreneur, I had to promote my business, and it was terrifying, but I could fall back on what I learned from going through these theatrical classes to help me.
I love that. I think everybody, has anybody done an improv class before? I would recommend going through that process, and not just doing it one time, doing it a few times, because whether it's speech and debate, whether it's doing theater, whether it's learning professional speaking, at this point, especially, part of the reason why it's been so difficult to find really good quality interns is communication has collapsed for a lot of students coming out of school. What I've seen, and not here, I mean, maybe every once in a while I might do this, but very rare, but I've seen people where somebody's sitting at that table and somebody's sitting at that table, not only will they not talk, they'll only text to each other. And I'm not saying there's anything bad about texting, do whatever you need to do, but there is anxiety. Yeah. There is fear. There is, I don't want to say the wrong thing. If I go to my direct report and I present incorrectly, is that going to have cause and effect down the road? But at the same time, the ability now, because AI is so prevalent, to be able to communicate, to collaborate, to whiteboard, to think out loud, to be okay that you're going to make mistakes, but be able to be on stage. So my eldest daughter is in theater, and she's been doing it for years. There is a level of anxiety, but you just have to show up.
That's right.
And again, it's almost like the farm. You don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
When you're on stage with your team and you're there, you might be afraid, you might have anxiety, but you just show up because you got a whole team as well that you're showing up and performing for. And whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's in career, I would highly, highly recommend what Mary's done and what I've done with speech and debate is go and practice.
Yeah.
Just constantly get out there, because if you don't have those opportunities, you're just going to be uncomfortable when the time comes to be able to present from that
Yeah,
standpoint.
I totally agree. And I actually took after college with a friend, I took an improv class here in Atlanta, and I think there's some around still where you can go to, and it was super fun and interesting, and also it really helps you develop your ability to be in front of people.